Hello everyone, and welcome back to Bloodborne. It's been a few weeks. I did that Returnal video, plus I've been somewhat busy here and there. And, of course, I've been playing more Returnal. It's surprisingly pretty addictive, even if I haven't gotten super far yet. I'm really enjoying those runs, but we're here for Bloodborne, so let's continue on with that. First off, I'd like to call attention to the milkweed rune that we got last time. Spoke about this a little bit. Re-put up the description up here. Don't need to reread it, but we're gonna put it on. And in doing so, we're transformed into this weird lumenwood-like creature. Doesn't change anything fundamentally, like at all. Gonna switch back to impurity. That will come in handy a little bit later. But as it stands at this moment, it doesn't hold a whole lot of significance other than it turns us into a sort of kin-like creature. To start off, this video is going to begin with one of my favorite boss fights of this entire console generation that this released on. As you recall, literally just before this door was the boss fight of Living Failures. I don't believe we read that clock tower key, so let's give that a once over just in case. Key to the astral clock tower at the top of the Grand Cathedral. The caretaker of the tower's numerous patients, known to them only as Lady Maria, made her home behind a giant star interpreting clock. And now already, the moment you open the door, it's a striking visual. All that light coming through that giant astral dial. And at the end of the hall is the Lady Maria. Now, for those who have seen the key art for this DLC, she is sitting here, looking a little less dead, holding her sword essentially at the ready.
A corpse should be left well alone. Oh, I know very well how the secrets beckon so sweetly. Only an honest death will kill you now. Liberate you from your wild curiosity.
Lady Maria, the Astral Clock Tower. She has essentially two dual katanas. Her music is fantastic. The blood going everywhere and just splattering. When she combines them, and her third phase here, her blood lights on fire. It's such an awesome visual. And of course, if you know what you're doing, that boss fight is over relatively quickly. Celestial Dial. Now, before we hold up this Celestial Dial and move forward, Lady Maria was essentially the saint of this research hall slash mock medical facility for treating people. Of course, turning them into experiments. And of course, the nightmare here is a distorted, screwed up version of the past of the waking world. And this here is her coffin, as is reflected from the real world with the lumen flowers on top of it. She's of course dead in the real world, and in the nightmare, her, shall we say, spirit or equivalent in this world is what's forced to dwell here and suffer, essentially. Same with all the other blood drug hunters who have been sentenced here, such as Ludwig.
Good hunter, this may sound strange, but have I somehow changed? Moments ago, from some place, perhaps deep within, I sensed a liberation from heavy shackles. Not that I would know. How passing strange.
Now, people who keep their ears perked up will notice that Lady Maria has the same voice as the doll. In fact, they have the same face and a similar general outfit. This is by no mistake. The doll was created by Getterman as some sort of a weird tribute to Lady Maria.
Good hunter, I said. Very well,
And what should we upgrade here? That's reasonably nice. And you only get
Farewell, good hunter. May you find
that special dialogue once after you defeat Lady Maria. And of course, much like Ludwig, we have set her free from that nightmare that she was stuck in. And of course the doll spoke to that with the removal of those shackles that she felt. Even though it didn't quite make sense to her. Celestial Dial. Dial for the great astral clock of the Grand Cathedral. A celestial dial that functions with the giant astral clock in the Grand Cathedral. When the dial is held up toward the astral clock, the clock will come to life and reveal a secret to its curious interloper. It's a really cool, fantastic design. And through it, you're transported to somewhere very different. There's a watch by the merchandising company known as Super Groupies, I think it is, that is reminiscent of that astral clock. I don't wear a watch anymore, but if I did and really wanted to spend a whole lot of money, like I guess it's around $400-$500 on it, I probably would go for that. I like these little, like, sort of art installations. We have them all over Oregon. People like to do it for some reason. I don't remember the whole reasoning behind them. But here in
black and white, blasphemous murders, blood-crazed fiends. Atonement for the wretches, by the wrath of Mother Goss. Mercy for the poor wizened child. Mercy. Oh, please. Atonement for the wretches. Lay the curse of blood upon them and their children and their children's children forevermore. Each wretched birth will plunge each child into a lifetime of misery. Mercy, let atonement for the wretches. Lay the curse of blood upon them and their children and their children. Each wretched birth will plunge each child into a lifetime of misery. Mercy for the poor wizened child. Let the pungence of Cos cling like a mother's devotion.
as I was saying about these...
Blasphemous atonement for
Okay, let's get away from him.
mercy. Mercy.
About these little standing things. Instead of being made out of rocks, they're made out of like giant snail or ammonite shells.
Blasphemous atonement.
You notice that this place definitely is down with doing sea burials. And that fishman mage there was speaking to some of the horrible atrocities committed here by Bergenworth and the Healing Church. Fishing Hamlet. Now this is an asset I talked about in the Chalice Dungeon. And it finally shows up here in what is, I guess, kind of the main game. Depending on how you're going to define that. But it's like a weird whale or porpoise skeleton. And I was correct in saying that it's not anywhere in the main game outside the Chalice Dungeons. And it was definitely in Chalice Dungeons first before this DLC ever came out. I still find it really weird. I don't recall if I spoke about this on camera, but because you'll find these very similar bodies in the Chalice Dungeons. They are there because they are reminiscent of the Hunter's Mark, which of course is etched into your brain and you use to suicide yourself and come back, of course, and deal with it's basically an instant teleport at the cost of all your echoes. But the point behind it is that somebody being strung up, upside down, alive or dead, and then all the blood would be collected in the head and the neck regions from gravity pulling it downwards, and then you remove the head and drain the blood. And it's quite an ominous sight, and an important one coming into this village. But before we press on, we're going to put that milkweed back on for a moment. Back to being like a broccoli head. I spoke around when we first started this DLC that this DLC was meant to be two separate pieces, and I wonder if this was meant to be a bit larger, and this was intended to be much larger and be the beginning of part 2. Back in early development. We can speak to this guy.
For the mercy. Curse here, curse there. A curse for he and she. White hair. A bottomless curse. A bottomless sea. Source of all greatness. All things that be. Listen. For the baneful chants. Weep with them as one in trance. And weep with us. Oh, weep with us.
Accursed brew. I also would like to turn attention really quick to what is beneath this ocean here.
Mercy. For mercy.
In addition to those wrecked ships that are on a similar plane to this, just below the water, deep below, you can see some buildings.
Begging blasphemous atonement for the mercy. For the mercy.
And of course, these ship masts will be familiar to people who been following along for quite a while. But that's a detail we'll speak on a little bit later. Accursed Brew. Skull of a local from the violated fishing village. The inside of the skull was forcibly searched for eyes, as evidenced by innumerable scratches and indentations. No wonder the skull became stewed in curses. Those who offer baneful chants weep with them as one in trance. I'll leave this on for right now. It's not a big deal. I just didn't want it on for that cutscene with the boss fight. Look how goofy that'd be. These enemies are fishmen. This entire zone is a reference to the Shadow over Innsmouth, the Howard Phillips Lovecraft story. In which entire town, coastal, is enters into a bargain with essentially an elder god, forming a cult in exchange for, shall we say, benefits. And in the process, they are turned into large, misshapen fish creatures. And the fishing hamlet here, it is not giving a proper name as far as I'm personally aware. Outside of that, it had a similar thing going. Those skulls there are what come out of that accursed brew. They are being summoned by fishy mages. Much like the one who gave us that spell. And those are the very large fishmen. They do a lot of damage. As you can tell. No problems with the boss, but these guys are rough. Which reminds me to put those bone blades on. Oh. Glad I died. I missed an item. one that I don't particularly need. As I am fully stocked with blood vials and can easily get more. But why not? Notice many of these barrels are filled with weird sort of gooey duck slug-like organisms. Get away from that damn curse. It has quite a range. Let's try to keep the big shark guy away. Come on. He's here just to lure you out. They take a lot of damage, as well as deal it again. It's been quite a while, so they're very much the worst enemies in this entire area and DLC in general. I like how you can see the one that hangs out by that green lamp walk through in there on your way in. Ooh. Okay, that was an odd bug. I turned back to normal. Unless I haven't been noticing that.